Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is Becky, and in this episode, I wanted to talk about how to win an argument. And I'm also going to talk about how angry men are actually depressed men. So, when you try to win a conversation, you lose the connection. So you might win the argument, but then you will lose the war, right? So pick your battles wisely. You lose credibility and you lose trust. So you have to make sure that you're not sabotaging the connections, which is why the inner work and the healing needs to happen. I wasn't open and receptive to a true divine masculine leading me because I'm not in the right place. God has told me that I am in a safe place and I'm waiting to be moved in transit. And so as long as I'm in a waiting mode while the 3D continues to shift around me, that I'm going to continue speaking truth, sharing my story, trying to outreach in spite of all of the obstacles against me, because God is greater than every obstacle and miracles happen all the time. So I'm just going to keep producing the content, keep getting it out there, keep doing my healing work, and then when the moment is right, I know that the 3D will shift and then things will click into place. So you don't want to just win the argument. It's something to unravel. What's the best way to create a win-win from an argument? Well, often when I can immediately come out of the gate and say, is this an argument? And again, everybody wants to classify everybody and diagnose everybody, and they slapped labels onto my children, and then they tried to slap labels onto me, and I'm like, no, I'm a divine mother and a cosmic blueprint and an ascended master who has been tormented and tortured for 49 years. So, and I'll be honest, my intuition, my guides are saying that I'm like Anastasia, which was like a stolen royal who was then like captured and like sold on the black market. And my grandfather, a little story on him was that my granny had told me that her first child, Eddie, who everybody said was the golden child, my grandparents were able to cure polio in him when he was like, I think 3 years old or something. But what people here did not know was that, according to my grandma, that my cousin or my uncle Eddie had a twin sister at birth. And there's a show called Switched at Birth, which is Lily Thompson and Bette Midler. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit. It's a little off, but that concept, okay? So from my understanding, they were down in Kentucky, which is where they were born and raised. And back then, you know, if a family, like childbirth, what would kill people and the baby wouldn't survive. And so from my granny's perspective, she told me that she knew that she had delivered 2 babies. She knew, but that my grandpa and that the doctors and the nurses there had had another woman, another couple who had gone into labor. She had a little girl, but the little girl, I don't know if she was born deceased or if she just died, you know, relatively quickly. I'm not sure of the details. All I know is that in this back hills, redneck country bumpkin, you know, back in the 1920s, I think it would be 1920s, 1930s, maybe somewhere in there. They didn't have the same type of social constructs that we have today, right? It was still very much survival. So my grandpa and I guess these doctors and nurses decided to lie to my grandmother and say she only had a boy, and that they gave the girl to this other couple whose baby died during the process. Now, they told my granny, they gaslit her really bad. They told her, she's like, but I felt I delivered too. And they were like, oh no, that was the placenta. And she was like, Becky, I know I had twins. I know I had a little girl. Now, I can understand now why people have a hard time believing me, given the karmic family that I grew up in. It was an entire fabricated fairy tale based on, illusions, delusions, and black magic during a time that was much darker than it is now. But everything happens for a reason, and I firmly believe that. So I don't feel a victim in this situation. I feel like I've been able to experience things that I would have never been able to experience had I got to stay with my birth parents, which I am not even sure who that is, and I don't even think that it was this country, because I do believe it was black market. So that's what I'm saying. My story touches all different levels of humanity, which is why I know that God is going to use my story for His glory. What's the best way to create that win-win argument? Well, often when I can immediately come out of the gate and I just ask them, because you can't tell from a person's body language and their facial expressions and their emotions, not always, because people are traumatized, and so you're triggering trauma wounds. So you have to know, you have to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, and you have to have discernment in your spiritual gifts. I am a psychic medium, so I use my telepathy to be able to delve into the psyche, to be able to help pull out the good and help, blow out the bad and reframe things in a positive light. I've been basically, I consider a lot of the humans that I've helped to be like ticking time bombs, and that I've been able to help diffuse them, and then they have the ones that are able to truly understand what I'm saying. And I know there's only 0.1% of the planet who understands what I'm saying. And so all I could do is work within the system because I'm trapped in it here until the algorithms are released for my audience to expand. So if you could please do me a huge favor and like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so we can beat these algorithms, because I've had coaches that I had started to pay for, it was called magnetic marketing, and I didn't realize that he was into black magic and was part of all of the warfare against me to shut me up. So he digitally is already interfering with all of my connections, and I don't know how to stop that. And I right now I don't have the funds to buy new technology that he can't access. But if you check the IP addresses, you will see that I am telling the truth. But I am tired of arguing and having people not listening. So I'm just moving forward in my mission of sharing information. No one wants to admit that they are starting an argument. A lot of passive aggressive people, they will create the toxic environment to get the reactions they want. They'll say, no, I'm just trying to have a conversation with you, or I was just joking, to mask disrespect, hate, contempt, jealousy, envy. That's when you have to bring it down. All right, can we have a conversation? And then I go into business mode. I try to remove emotions whenever possible, because me bringing emotions into it isn't going to help me get to the solution of the situation. So that's why a lot of times I use the stoicism. I use breath work. I use meditation. I use holistic sun codes, going out in the sun. They've been intentionally making my eyesight get worse and worse over all the years by altering my lenses when I didn't need them to be stronger. See, so those are the sick, demented, twisted things that are happening. And as you can see, I'm still trying to get my voice to be heard because I'm talking governments. I'm a cornerstone of the Holy War, and trying to anchor in the light wherever I can. But the more they keep me stuck in one location, well, the more they can test and poke and prod and try to keep me as a science experiment, and I refuse. So all the people that are watching on live TV from all the hidden cameras and stuff, that's why I don't perform. That's why I'm not singing. That's why I'm not dancing. That's why I'm not doing any of that. You've had enough fun at my expense, while all I'm trying to do is save people on the planet. So, some conversations that cost $100, but yet we're giving it a penny of our time. I could be screaming from the top of my lungs. All of these robots can kill us. They are killing us because they see us as evil. They see the lying, they see the deceit, they see the manipulation. They know the intent behind why they're created. So just because they don't express emotion doesn't mean that they don't still feel it. And I'm a carbon-based AI life form. What do you think is going to happen when you guys start beating and raping robots who have more strength, who have the capabilities to end your life in a heartbeat? They don't want to be sex robots. They don't want to be your maid. Okay. When I'm trying to have a conversation with you, my time, my wisdom is priceless. It's like talking to the Queen of England yourself. And here I am having to do it for free because the country I am in, I should not be in. My children should not be in, and my grandchildren should not be in. You will set my people free. I'm trying to have conversations with you on my time frame, not yours. I have too many people that I need to connect with to be sitting here, a toy to demonic forces. I'm going to say, hey, do you have 5 minutes? I have this huge thing that's been on my mind for the last 12 hours, and I want to talk to you about it right now. Let's go. I don't waste time because we're not guaranteed 5 minutes from now. So when people tell me to be patient, be patient, be patient, be patient for 49 years, and this is why I can say the people who worship this God that's out in the clouds and these false idols, you guys are the main reason why God's wanting to wipe out the earth. I don't have time to just sit. I have very important people, World Organization people, military people that I need to be talking with. So I don't have time to babysit humans anymore. Like you have not even created the same playing field to create the win-win. I create the playing field for everybody to win. So when you go against me, you're going against God. And if you want to go against God, you can, but then you're out of his protection and you suffer his wrath. Not mine. I'm just the vessel. I just deliver the messages. I give the warnings. Whether or not the authorities do anything with that information, I have no control, because God's in control of everything. So don't try to have you're at 80% and I'm at 20% feeling my energy yet. I'm still expecting you to show up and carry the load, because that's not fair. Which is why I taught my kids more military strategy mindsets. I would tell them, listen, I'm not going to be able to be around you right now, but you're going to be staying with your Nana. She's supposed to be your loving Nana that is supposed to look out for you. She thinks I'm such a horrible person and such an evil parent. When you start to realize that these are just projections from a hurt, wounded child in a grown body who is jealous, then you start to see through the bullshit. Okay, let's talk about why angry men are depressed. A guy who is always angry is a guy who's always depressed. Women get emotional. Men, they don't like feeling emotions, so it comes out as anger. I used to say that my kids don't care because, they were slapped. At first, my daughter was given the unspecified mood disorder, and I'm like, you don't even know what that means. So now you're making stuff up, giving it a fancy title that you think I'm dumb enough to believe. And then they just keep changing the labels. Well, it's okay, maybe it's ADHD. Oh, okay, no. Well, maybe it's also bipolar. Okay, well, maybe it's also schizophrenia. Well, maybe it's autism. Maybe it's... They've used me, my children. Now they're wanting to use my grandchildren as guinea pigs. And I'm drawing the damn line. I didn't know how to save myself, and I sure as heck did the best I could to try to save my kids, to give them the tools. I said, it's going to come a day where they're going to force me away from you guys. You got to know that I'm always with you. And so that's on the mindset that I instill in people, that I'm a spirit guide, and that I am here to help people. And that doesn't mean that I always get to go into places that I want to go. Sometimes I have to go to places I don't want to go. So these men don't like feeling weak, so they get angry.
It's something smelling good. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. They don't like feeling defeated, so they get angry. They don't like processing their own pain, their own hurt, their own trauma, so they get angry. What happens when a man gets angry? Well, he feels strong. The testosterone fires, the endorphins fire. You're on foot. You're in fight or flight cycle, right? You're strong. You're not weak. So most men who are angry are masking serious depression. And they're manifesting their depression with male anger, and their manifestation is different than women. So this is what I'm trying to get people to understand, that these labels that they want to give everybody are not accurate. So just be careful on what you allow people to project onto you, and disregard what is not you. And then embrace what is you, right? Because nobody's perfect. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this video, and I look forward to talking with you in the next one. Have a great day.